Can this bourbon lover learn to like Scotch? Today we're doing something crazy, and we're gonna find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So yeah, the name of my channel is the Bourbon Hutch, and that's for a reason. I'm a big bourbon guy. Tend to like bourbons, have really started to like rye, and honestly, in my journey, haven't explored much other than that yet. But one category that I've steered a little bit away from is Scotch. A few videos in the past and one very recently, I talked about how I don't particularly like Scotch. So one loyal viewer, Andrew Butler, huge shout out to Andrew, decided to take that as a bit of a challenge, I think, which is great, and said, I'm gonna send him a good varied sample of Scotches and see if we can get this guy to like Scotch, this bourbon drinker, to appreciate Scotch. So really excited to dive in. There's 7 things in front of me. I have no idea what they are. Andrew did send along an email explaining what each is. I chose not to look at that ahead of time so we can do a true double blind, see what I like, see what I don't like, and hopefully learn a lot. Throughout the video, I'm going to taste these, nose them, go through the whole experience, do it blind. You guys are going to know what I'm sipping on. I'm going to have no idea, and then I'll figure it out at the end. The interesting thing is, I really don't know a lot about Scotch. Like, even if I looked at the list Andrew sent over, I probably wouldn't know what most of those brands mean or what to expect from them. So I'm really a newbie here. I'm a little bit overwhelmed by Scotch when I look at it, in a liquor store on the wall. I felt the same way getting into bourbon, but now I've had time to orient myself. But when I look at Scotch on the shelves, I just, I don't really know what's good and what's not good. So thankfully, Andrew put together what he considers a nice varied sampling here of 7 things, 7 Scotches, and we're gonna taste them all. Hopefully remain coherent by the end of this video and talk through what I like and don't like. I will try to rank them all, but I think more importantly, what I'm gonna do this video is I'm gonna put them into categories on a scale. So I'm gonna go from hate it, hopefully not too many are in that category, hate it, not a fan. So not a fan is like, not sure if I really like the profile, maybe I could learn to like it, maybe there's 1 or 2 redeeming qualities, but not my favorite. Then we'll do like it, so consider it pretty solid, and then love it. Hopefully there's a couple in the love it, hopefully there's a lot in the like it, maybe there's gonna be some on the worser end of the spectrum for me and my profile. What is it about Scotch though? I think I wanna ask and answer that question first. What is it about Scotch that I have struggled with? I've always described it as like a little bit too honeysuckle sweet for me, just too sweet. And then I really haven't explored enough. I've had Monkey Shoulder blended, I've had Macallan 12, I've had something peated, and they've intrigued me, but none have stood out to me as like, oh, I would spend the money to get those bottles. The other thing is Scotch is a little bit more expensive here in America than bourbon, that's for sure. So this is hopefully a big step for me in beginning to orient myself in the world of Scotch. I know that there's, the peated profile. I know that there's different regions from Scotland that all of Scotch comes from, and that can mean different things. We'll just see. One interesting thing to note, just looking at these, is they're all very, very different in color. I know that bourbon, you can't add any coloring or anything like that, but in Scotch it can, so maybe they're experiencing that here, but it's just fascinating to look at them and see like a super clear one and a dark one and a middle ground. Really intriguing. So I know nothing about Scotch, basically. I'm a newbie. Let's dive in. Let's see if a bourbon lover can really come to appreciate Scotch with this tasting. I'm probably gonna go pretty slow. It's a lot to consider and drink here. I've got my notebook ready to pull out and start taking notes. So if this video is a little jumpy, that's probably why. But without further ado, since I don't know what any of these are, I can't really introduce them, let's dive in. I will put up on the screen what they are again so that you know while I'm sipping, and then I will have it revealed to me later. This will be glass A, and this will be glass A, B, C, D, E, F, G. G all the way at the end. All right, let's dive into glass A. On the nose. Okay, it smells like Scotch. Yeah, glass A. This is matching in my mind the profile I have thought of when I think of Scotch. That honeysuckle sweetness, the malt sweetness, like raw honey, a bright red fruit like a strawberry, floral. Not that I've ever tasted like nectar from a flower or something like that. At least I don't think I have, but it kind of evokes that in my mind. Interesting. So it's not at all bad. I just think it leans real sweet. Okay. Glass A on the nose, very sweet. This one's so much darker, glass B. Let's see what we like on glass B, or don't like. Oh, okay. The darker tones are here. A little bit astringent, but much more of a potential chocolate, black cherry. It's very acidic fruits. It is kind of what my mind's going to. So maybe that bitterness is the chocolate, but the fruit is like a blackberry, black cherry, raw acidity. So, you know, if you taste like a black cherry or a blackberry, like it's got some astringent punch to it. That kind of has that on the nose. Interesting. And much darker. Okay. I could actually see myself liking that one. Let's see on the palate. All right, glass C on the nose. Okay. Again, I don't know much, but this smells like it's got some smoky peatedness to it. It's definitely smoky. The cool thing is how different each of these is already. Like, this one really goes peat smoke. Some of that honeysuckle sweetness is kind of underlying it. The honey, raw honey note. Some vanilla. Some of those lighter, bright red fruits trying to poke through, but it's all encased in this very smoke-induced, infused expression. Okay. I'm already fascinated. It's just so interesting how different these are. Okay, let me go into the nose on glass D, I guess this is. Okay. Wow. Fascinating. Back to a little darker. Not sure I like this one though. Feels like stewed berries, more of a stew. There's maybe something savory here too. That might be what I'm struggling with, but it could also just be the malt mixing with some of those other things that feels weird to me. Maybe this one will surprise me on the palate. I just immediately kind of pulled back from the nose, but then the more I dug in, the more I can feel like there's that stewed berry and intriguing dark quality to it. It's also a darker color. That could be colored, but could also be a natural consequence of a little more age and depth. This one is the most clear by far. I mean, it literally looks like water with the slightest tinge. So let's see how that goes on the nose. Oh my gosh. This has to be peated too, I think. Super smoky. This is just like straight campfire smoke. It's like when you put out a campfire and all the smoke rises up and it's kind of maybe a little bit wet too, like wet wood was in the fire and it's coming out. Other than that, there's just kind of a light sweetness. But it is dominated, I think, by that campfire smokiness. And it's interesting, the smoke on glass, oh man, I'm already starting to lose my bearings a little bit. I think it was glass C. The smokiness there was more subtle. It was nicely infused. It was wrapping around these things. This one, I can hardly get by it. Like, it's just so smoky right off the bat. Okay, let's go into glass A, B, C, D, E, F. Sorry, it's going to take me a little while to orient myself here. All right, glass F on the nose. Oh, is that a bourbon? Yes. Andrew, here we go. If this is aged in like a bourbon barrel or something, I'm sorry that I'm just that biased, but more vanilla, way more vanilla. The red berry. This is almost reminding me of some like Maker's Mark, a little wheated bourbon kind of profile. With like a raspberry, bright red cherry, vanilla, and oak. This is probably the darkest one. So, may just be more up my alley. Nice vanilla. Maybe even like a grapey-ness to it, some dark fruits, plum, something in there. But I immediately recognized it as more of a familiar profile from the bourbon world. Okay, let's go into glass E, I guess this is. Or G, sorry, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We end on G. Okay, let's go in. Ooh, okay. Intrigued by this one too. It's more similar to glass C, I believe it was, with a slight smokiness. But this is toned down a little bit. It's got some of that malty sweetness, raw honey, a little bit of oak, a little bit of smoke. Woody. This is a little more woody. Like, instead of just the smoke dominating, I'm getting some of those wood characteristics coming through for me. And then maybe one of those kind of grape plum fruitiness as well. It's not nearly as dark, who knows, but I kind of am intrigued by that one as well. Okay, so again, the noses are varied and kind of crazy. What I'm gonna do now is actually pause, take some notes for myself, and then we'll dive into the palate. So let's get into that. I'll just cut right to that for you guys. All right, we're back. For me, that was a little bit of time to orient myself, make sure I had some notes. Now let's dive into the palate. Disclaimer, I am going to be pausing, taking some breaks to drink water, have some pretzels, refresh my palate, because this is a lot to take in. So, and I want to do this all justice. So let's go into glass A on the palate. Very standard Scotch in my mind on the nose. Let's see if that translates. Cheers. Okay. Pleasantly surprised. Honey, raw honey, just really a lot of honey. It's kind of the main note I'm getting. The malty sweetness is there. Little floral pops. And again, that slight red strawberry, very light strawberry, but bright, juicy, and honey forward. A very, very pleasant experience, but nothing dark or rounded really. It's just more of those bright, raw honey and fruit notes. Still, pleasantly surprised by how much I like that. Okay, let's go into glass B on the palate. This one intrigued me on the nose. And let's see if it does that on the palate. Cheers. Nice. Kind of a creamier experience. Slight coconutty, almondy creaminess to it. Some fruits, but they're darker. Again, more stewed, dark fruits. Touch of, I don't know if it's smokiness on the back end, but I'm picking up a little bit of that. It gets a little darker. It's definitely a darker expression overall. Maybe a touch of that caramel that I've been searching for in Scotch, but a creaminess, really kind of creamy feel to it. All right, again, I'm getting water between these. Let's go into glass C though. All right, diving in to glass C. All right, subtle smokiness to this one on the nose. Let's go on the palate. More smoke and peat on the palate than I was anticipating. Oh, it's definitely there. That is really what hit me first. Then it really kind of claws back with that malty sweetness, the honey, some of the lighter bright fruits, and then the smoke kind of wraps around it all. It keeps interchanging. Like it's a little smoky, then it was a little fruity. Now I feel like the back end is more of that smoke, a little savory note, almost like a savory bacon note. Fascinating. Really interesting. Again, how different these are. I wouldn't say I'm disliking any of these too much. I'm a little unsure, but I'm not disliking right off the bat. Again, let me take some notes and then we'll go on to the rest of these. All right, we're back. Took some notes. Let's go into glass D. This was one that kind of jumped out to me as iffy, so we'll see how it translates to the palate. Cheers. Nope. Yeah, that's not it. That's not it. Wet, dank wood or something really funky and weird is happening on this one for me. Just unpleasant note in there. There's some redeeming qualities, a little bit of that creaminess, some of that malt sweetness. There is something dank that feels like dead wood or something. Really not good. Okay, I just got to note that one down real quick. As dank wood, not sure if it's gonna go in not a fan or hate it. We'll see. Let me get some more water and then we'll dive into the rest. Okay. Super smoky on the nose here was this glass. A, B, C, D, E. E. Super smoky. All right, let's go in. Cheers. Okay. Surprisingly, not hating it. It is like I just swallowed an ember from a campfire. Just the amount of smoke that's going on in my mouth. Yeah, it's all smoke. There is a redeeming, maybe a slight vanilla, maybe a little bit of oak or something in there, the woodiness, but it's all smoke for me. All that campfire peated smoke. But it knows what it is and it's just going right after it. Okay, more notes. Okay, so took a little minute to cleanse my palate as well. Let's go into this one. This was the most promising on the nose, maybe the most bourbon adjacent. See if that translates. Yeah, I do like that. Okay, cheers. Yeah, so more of the malt sweetness came through on the palate for me on that sip than maybe I was anticipating, but it's balanced out by that, or like a plum fruitiness, a little bit of a red raspberry or cherry note as well. It's tending to remind me a little bit of Maker's Mark or that kind of red winter wheat profile, but in a Scotch with the more malt sweetness at the very center of it. So I really actually do like that one. Let me note that down. And last but not least, another intriguing one on the nose. We've got glass G. Okay, on the palate, cheers. Okay, so it did translate over. More of a vanilla undertone on this one. Still the raw honey sweetness and malt sweetness. Subtle smoke. It's the most subtle integrated smokiness for me. Just a tiny bit of it, but it comes in on the palate, back end of the palate a lot more and into the finish. There's also a fruitiness here and a floral, definitely a floral essence on this one. It's got a little more balance, maybe a little more rounded notes to it, and I like how the smoke is more integrated for me at least. Okay, one final note, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some more time on each of these, really kind of figure out my order. Obviously, I've already noted some stuff down that's going to be helpful, but I will cut right to the chase for you guys, and we'll go right to me breaking down what I like and don't like here. So, give me a minute and we'll do that. Okay, everybody, that should have just been a quick jump cut for you. For me, it was quite a process to do my due diligence here, but I have come up with what I like, what I don't like, and what my definitive order is here. Luckily, there are some things I really do like, there are also some things I really don't like. So that's good to know, and the variety here has been great. So again, thank you so much, Andrew. But let's break it down. I'll tell you what I like, I'll tell you what I don't like, and we'll go through it and we'll reveal my final order. So, in terms of what did I not like? Okay, so I'd put one in the category of hate it, and that is Glass D. Whatever that dank wood, dead, terrible note, sorry, I just really don't like it. If that's your favorite Scotch ever or whatever, you and I can still be friends, but it's just not good. Is what is my humble opinion. Not good. So we will put Glass D in the hate it category. Okay, I had a couple in the not a fan category. I had in 6th place, so that's in 7th place, Glass D. In 6th place, I had Glass C. I feel like the smokiness here is just a little too much for me, a little too aggressive and kind of masking some of the other notes that I felt like could have been good. So for me, that goes into 6th place, but it's still in not a fan. Like I could learn to like it more. I don't hate it right off the bat. Okay, for me in 5th place, also not a huge fan, was Glass E. So that is the super smoky one. This is just campfire smoke all day through. It's very interesting that it can present that, but for me it's just, I don't particularly like it very much. Okay, now we're moving on to the more positive side. Everything from here on out is a like it or love it, which is great. Okay, so in 4th place for me, I had Glass G, the final glass here. This is a like it. I felt like the smoke was a lot more integrated and a lot more enjoyable. So I will put that in the like it category, though it still would take some getting used to. Okay. Now I would say the rest I actually really did enjoy and found pleasant pretty much throughout. So for me in 3rd place, I had Glass A. Very sweet. This is the quintessential kind of Scotch profile I have in my mind, and I did thoroughly enjoy that, especially compared to some of the others. It really stands out as very pleasant. So enjoyed that one a lot. Then we had the two darkest ones with more of those richer flavors I did gravitate towards. So I had Glass B, number 2, on my list. I really do like that one. The creamy, almondy, whatever it is, it's very creamy, some darker fruits, stewed fruits, very enjoyable, still in the like it category. There was one love it, and that is Glass F. This was the most bourbony, the most enjoyable to me through and through, and I'm trying not to be biased. I'm trying to really be open, and I think this like it category shows I'm open to these flavors. But honestly, if I'm just being totally honest with myself, F is the kind of thing I really enjoy. So that's in the love it category. One hate it, one love it, kind of a lot in the middle there. What I'm going to do now is pull out Andrew's list of what each of these are, reveal them to myself, and just learn a lot about Scotch, hopefully, and what I prefer. Okay, so let's dive in now. I've got my computer pulled up with Andrew's list. I'm going to, translate it over to what each one is. May take me a second, but let's dive in. Okay. Last place, the one I hate. This is Tormore 2002 Cote Roti Finish, 14 years old, 90 proof. Know nothing about what any of that means. I probably just really don't like what the finish is on this, if I had to guess. Like, I just really don't enjoy the dank wood, whatever it is. It's just really not my cup of tea. But 14 years old, again, Andrew, I know this is probably a lot of expensive, good stuff, so thank you so much for sending it along, but that one, not my favorite. Okay. In second to last place is Springbank 10-year-old. This seems like 92 proof, so not super high proof. Springbank, I've heard of that brand, 10 years old. It's just, I felt like it wasn't as dynamic as some of the others and had some notes that I didn't particularly love. All right, let's go into this one. This is the third to last, very smoky. This is Clerk of the Works Batch 2 Ledaig 11-year-old. Proof point is in that 90, looks like 97-ish range. Okay. Maybe Ledaig is more of that peated. It sounds like a peated, so definitely super smoky, and I just didn't gravitate toward that with how dominant that was. All right, moving on to the like it category, and I'm definitely gonna have to do my research on what each of these is to orient myself a little bit more. But let's see with kind of middle of the pack here. Okay, that is Glen Scotia Camp Belltown Malts Festival. That is a limited edition 2008 vintage 10-year-old. Ooh, higher proof. This is like 115-ish proof. Closer to 116. Wow, didn't really detect that. It's very smooth and subtle for how much proof is on there. All right, so with these last three, I'd say we're really moving into the ones I did enjoy, could see myself buying. So intrigued as to what these are. This one was the most quintessential Scotchy to me, so let's see what it is. Okay. And Knock, might be mispronouncing that, 16-year-old. Okay. And it's lower proof. It's like in the 92 proof. Okay, so quintessential Scotch to me. And I tended to enjoy that more today, especially compared to the variety here. Just like this more raw honey sweetness jumped out to me as quite good. All right, these last two, the darker ones, the ones I really tended to enjoy. This is the creamy expression, whatever it is. Let's see what it was in second place. 20 Port Dundas 20-year-old single grain, higher proof again, more in that 115-ish range. This one, Andrew, the 20 years old comes through, man. The oak, the creaminess. Yes, okay, we're starting to get something. Maybe it's a little bit of age and time in the barrel, and that color, like that definitely contributed for sure. Okay, our big winner for the day, the most bourbony, my love it category here. Let's see what it was. Number 3, he has labeled Glengoni Teapot Dram Batch 3. It is higher proof. Wow, okay, so this is almost 120 proof. I don't know anything about it. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'd be curious to see if there's any bourbon element here. Teapot Dram Batch 3, Glengoni. Okay, really, really good stuff. This is the most bourbony. This is the most depth of flavor. These two stand apart in terms of the quality of depth of flavor for me. But overall, it's been really fun, really interesting. This is probably gonna be a super long video, but hey, I had a blast making it and learning a ton about my preferences for Scotch. Smoky peated, not a huge fan. It kind of is probably something I'm gonna have to learn to like. Quintessential, more Scotch sweetness, I can definitely do and experience and appreciate more. But it looks like a little bit of age can go a long way, or a lot of bit of age for Scotch, takes a little longer. And then whatever this particular one is great. You know what, I'm gonna look this one up real quick, get acquainted, and then let you know my final thoughts. All right, so I did do a little research there. This Glengoni or Glengoyne, however you say it, is available at the distillery only, apparently. So Andrew, thank you so much for sending it along. Finished or matured in Oloroso sherry casks, and I tend to like a sherry finish on a bourbon, so that makes a ton of sense. Doesn't have an age statement on it, but by the darkness, it says it's also a cask strength, unchilled filtered. I think it's probably got some great age on it, and it's just been allowed to kind of soak up more of the barrel, which to me, it's a Highland single malt, so that just helps me feel like it has more depth to it, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you again, Andrew, for sending along all of these samples. It's been such a fun little adventure here. I feel like I've learned a lot about Scotch, and I'll do more research into what each of these is to acquaint myself, to know what I like and don't like. But it's great to know that there are at least a collection of Scotches out there that I could see myself really enjoying, and that if I bought and had on my shelf, I would definitely sip on. Okay, everybody. Again, this is probably super long, but it's been really fun. The question at the beginning was, can a bourbon lover learn to like Scotch? I think we've answered that with yes. I definitely could learn to like it. Does that mean I'm going to go out and buy a bunch of Scotches? Maybe not. But there's at least a couple here that get me intrigued and make me want to explore more, and that I could definitely really, really enjoy sipping on. So that is a win in my book. Would love to know in the comments, if you're a bourbon drinker, what Scotches do you enjoy? And what have you been exploring lately? Maybe beyond the bourbon world. Andrew, you rock. Thanks again. I'll see you guys for another video soon, but until then, keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.